Welcome back to another My Hero Academia anime versus manga comparison video. Today we will be going over season 5 episode 111 of the My Hero Academia anime. As always, we will be seeing what was changed or how much was changed, removed, or perhaps done better from the manga to anime adaptation. Now, episode 111 is titled Tenko Shimura Origin, which is the same title as chapter 235. To start things off, the episode picks up on Twice and Toga minutes before Redestro's tower collapses. In this beginning section of the episode, the anime changes things up quite a bit. First, when the real Twice is trying to take Toga's measurements, the anime sort of forgets that he had both of his arms broken, which literally happened in the last episode. Here, he just casually uses his arms to take Toga's measurements. In the manga, however, Twice is only ever seen with his measuring tape in his mouth. For a little detail removed in this scene, the anime removes Toga's syringe being held by one of the Twice doubles and replaces it with the Twice double holding his measuring tape instead. When Twice tells Toga that they are going to keep her alive, the anime doesn't adapt this mini explanation of Twice's quirk, going over how his quirk reproduces a person's physical body exactly as they are at the moment he takes their measurements. Their personality, thoughts, and memories are updated only as far as the most recent time Twice saw them. Of course, this restriction does not apply to the doubles of himself. Lastly, in this scene, the anime doesn't adapt a very pissed off skeptic arriving to capture Twice, which this consisted of a couple of panels and the whole third page of chapter 233 not being adapted into the anime. Moving on, after the opening, we switch over to Spinner and Trumpet. Here, the anime doesn't adapt the fourth page in chapter 233, where Spinner recalls Trumpet announcing to the MLA warriors that Curious had just died. It makes sense why they didn't bother adapting in that page, since that scene was never adapted back in episode 109. For some detail removed, when we see Trumpet standing behind the crowd of warriors, the anime removes the Twice doubles and Spinner already taking out some of the warriors in the crowd. When Trumpet puts on Seven's Loud, which the animation and aura coming out of Trumpet in this scene looked really good by the way, the anime removes a piece of Trumpet's dialogue where he says that this will draw every last ounce of strength from our warriors, but it's necessary, which that was referring to him using the Seven's Loud support item. After this, the anime adds in some extra stuff, such as the Twice doubles getting some added dialogue when they get attacked by the warriors, and some added shots of Spinner fighting the warriors. When Spinner is wall crawling, the anime expands on this scene and shows the ballerina warrior from the inside of the building making the hole to Spinner. This was definitely a welcome and cool addition to the anime. Also, rest in peace to the spiky guy's "you're not getting the point" quip when he stabs Spinner. When Spinner falls to the ground, the anime doesn't adapt this panel showing that Spinner ends the spiky guy's life. As Spinner is recalling what Trumpet had said to him earlier, the anime cuts out a good chunk of Spinner's dialogue when he is reflecting on himself. This really shouldn't come as a surprise though, because Bones has cut out a lot of Spinner's character development in this arc. Honestly, I thought they would be adapting chapter 220 for this episode because of Spinner having these flashbacks of him in his room and of Shigaraki back in Ujiko's lab to further explain him now wanting to see the world that Shigaraki had in mind. But it's really looking like that whole chapter won't be getting adapted at all this season, which is really sad because not showing his interaction with the CRC and his argument with Shigaraki about him feeling empty inside and not inspired anymore really makes Spinner's decision in the anime to follow Shigaraki and wanting to see the future Shigaraki wanted to create feels really hollow. There isn't any real weight behind his change, unlike in the manga. Switching over to Shigaraki and Redestro, when Girin and Twice run away from Shigaraki's decay, the anime removes Girin and Twice's dialogue. After this, when Shigaraki is in the air due to Redestro's attack, the anime doesn't adapt Hana's hand falling to the ground. The anime also censors Shigaraki's left hand. Originally in the manga, when Shigaraki is in the air, half of his left hand is missing due to the attack. In the anime, however, his hand is still intact. It kind of makes me wonder how they are going to acknowledge him having the prosthetic part of his hand at the end of the arc, because we already have seen him with his prosthetic handpiece in the the anime earlier in the arc, and with the anime not showing him missing his fingers, the prosthetic would just feel kind of pointless later on. Honestly, this was a weird change for me because, it just looks like he might have had broken fingers and that's it. They could have just blacked out the missing part of his hand just to make him have his prosthetic handpiece make sense later on in the anime. Moving on, when Redestro grabs Shigaraki by his hands, the anime doesn't adapt these manga panels showing the outskirts of Daikai City, where we see that someone questions the cops and Slide and Go on why the road into the city is blocked off, and Slide and Go telling them that villains are rampaging in the city and have destroyed the city's landmark tower. In this same scene, when Redestro says don't judge a person by their quirk, the anime doesn't adapt the panel showing the children's book called Quirks and Us by Shueisha, which was where Redestro exerted that quote from. After this, when Shigaraki says that his head is splitting, the anime removes Shigaraki's mom's dialogue when he gets that quick glimpse of her in his memories where she says, "You've rubbed your eyes all ragged, let's get you some drops. It'll only get itchier if you keep scratching." Now, I need to take a moment to really appreciate Bones because they really killed it with the animation in this scene. Seeing Shigaraki go crazy running circles around Redestro and taking the hit from Redestro's stress output burden super move in his 80% liberation form was beautiful. Just the animation in Redestro forming the burden ball alone was phenomenal. Honestly, that whole sequence was just great. Major props to Bones for really coming through with the animation this episode. Moving on, when Redestro answers Skeptic's phone call, the anime doesn't adapt this panel of Redestro listening to Skeptic yelling over the phone, and instead replaces it with a added shot of Skeptic actually yelling into the phone. After this, the anime adds in an extra shot of Machia rampaging through the city to get to Shigaraki. When Redestro drops the phone, the anime removes Skeptic saying, "Redestro, be on guard," over the phone. As Shigaraki is thinking to himself about his senses being clear and sharp, the anime adds in a shot having the screen panel up from Redestro to the sky as he was thinking to himself. Originally in the manga, his thoughts were over a blacked out panel, so this added shot was definitely a welcome addition. When Shigaraki starts to answer Redestro's question on what he seeks to build, the anime adds in a shot showing Redestro. For a huge detail removed, when Shigaraki is staring at his father's hand, the anime doesn't change Shigaraki's hair color from grayish blue to white. To me, this was a really odd change since this was supposed to be when he is truly awakened and, he gets all of his memories back. But I'm not going to dwell on this too much since we are going to be getting his white hair eventually. Switching over to the past to a 5-year-old Tenko Shimura, the anime doesn't adapt these two panels. The first panel showing Shigaraki's mom apologizing to a man for Tenko causing trouble, and the second panel showing our first look at the outside of Shigaraki's childhood home. When Kotaro tells the in-laws that they need to understand where he is coming from regarding him being so strict with Tenko, the anime adds in an extra shot of Kotaro eating. After this, the anime adds in a shot showing the ointment Shigaraki was using to help stop his itching. When Shigaraki goes back to narrating, the anime adds in some extra shots of Shigaraki crying and Kotaro yelling and pulling Shigaraki by his shirt. After this, when Hana tells Tenko about the secret she wants to show him, the anime adds in a shot showing Tenko looking back at Hana. For a nice little detail added in, when Tenko finally gets his quirk and unknowingly uses it on the tennis ball, the anime shows more of the tennis ball decaying than what was shown in the manga. When Hana is blaming Tenko for sneaking into Kotaro's study, the anime removes Shigaraki narrating, saying again that little kids are sneakier than you'd expect and simpler. The anime also doesn't adapt these two panels showing Kotaro raising his hand and smacking Tenko across the face. After this, when we see Kotaro reading his mom's, aka Nana Shimura's, letter that she had left him on why she had to leave, the anime adds in extra shots of a young Kotaro messing with his mom by flipping the number 6 grade he gave her cooking upside down so that it could be a 9. Plus, Kotaro laughing and dragging Nana somewhere. Honestly, this was a sweet addition into the anime that really shows us just how much Kotaro and Nana both loved each other, giving us a little bit of a better look into their relationship and just how hurt Kotaro must have felt when Nana left him. Now, when Tenko accidentally decays the realest of them all, that being Monchan, plus, you know, the rest of his family, it's quite censored, like how there was no initial blood when they all started to decay. Stuff like that, I wasn't all that surprised when the anime didn't show it, but I'm actually impressed with just how much gore and blood Bones actually showed during this section of the episode, like how we see the side of Mon's head floating in a pool of Mon juice, and that chunk of Hana's head on top of all of that rubble. Like, I'm really glad this much made it into the anime, because this was such a good and depressing scene in the manga, and the anime really nailed it. With that said, after Shigaraki decays Hana, the anime doesn't adapt this panel right before his mom and grandparents come outside. After Shigaraki decays his mom, the anime doesn't adapt the panel showing his grandparents also decaying as well. The anime also does not adapt Kotaro making his way to the backyard. And finally, for the final change in the anime, when Kotaro sees the horrors that happened in the backyard, the anime adds in this random shot of this lamppost. You know, out of all of the possible things they could have added into the anime, someone at Bones really said, you know what? How about a lamppost? Episode 111 ends with Tenko Shimura no longer feeling itchy after decaying his whole family. Now, episode 111 covers 4 chapters, them being chapters 233, 234, 235, and 236. Now, aside from my dislike of the way Spinner's character development was being poorly handled for this arc, and the anime kind of forgetting that Twice had his arms broken, and no white hair Shigaraki, plus the animators forgetting whether or not Shigaraki had shoes on during his fight with Redestro. Yeah, I bet you all thought I didn't notice that, did ya? Besides the stuff I just mentioned, the episode was beyond amazing. The animation was on point where it mattered, and the gore was much more than I expected from Bones. This episode really blew me out of the water, and I can't wait for the next episode. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the changes made in episode 111. Did you enjoy this episode as much as I did? What was your favorite part of the episode? Are you wondering why the lamppost? Let me know everything in the comment section below. With that said, thank you for watching another My Hero Academia anime versus manga comparison video. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you are new to the channel and want to see more My Hero Academia content, then be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on to join the Kitoroki Hero Academia to become my hero. Doing all of this really does help the channel out a lot, and it's always appreciated. Remember to stay plus ultra, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.